Start by base coating the face, hands and feet with Bugman's Glow. Don't forget the ears sticking out underneath the hair. For the first layer, apply a 50-50 mix of Bugman's Glow and Cadian Flesh Tone over all areas of skin. Once the wash is dry, reapply the Bugman's Cadian mix, but this time try and leave the wash showing in the recesses around the cheekbones, eyes and between the fingers and toes. Apply a highlight using pure Cadian Flesh Tone, again focusing on more of the upper areas of skin to create natural tone and depth. Apply another highlight with a mix of Cadian Flesh Tone and Pallid Witch Flesh, pushing the highlights further. This creates the impression of light hitting the uppermost areas of skin such as the nose, upper cheekbones, chin, toes and the separation between the fingers. Finally, add more Pallid Witch Flesh to the mix for the final extreme edge highlight, once again pushing these highlights further on the uppermost areas of facial and skin detail. When this is done, you can fill in Pip's eyes using Abaddon Black and Pallid Witch Flesh and draw a thin line of Bugman's Glow across his lip just to add a bit of colour back to them. Base coat Pippin's hair with drier bark. Leave the pure dryad showing in the deepest recesses, mainly down the centre parting and around the ears. Finally, carefully start picking out individual hairs across Pippin's hair with pure Gawthor Brown. His hair is very messy, as is with most hobbits, so this can be a time-consuming process, but patience is key here to bring order to the chaos atop Pip's head. Carefully pick out Pippin's undershirt with Rakarth Flesh. Then, highlight the shirt with padded witch flesh. We're going to be playing with a few different shades of blue to really nail the rich dark blue of Pippin's jacket. To start off, base coat his jacket with a 40-40-20 split of Thousand Suns blue, Cantor blue and Abaddon black. The Thousand Suns and Cantor provide the rich deep blue base, and the Abaddon black tones it back ever so slightly, which will just help later highlight stages pop just that bit more. Don't forget to cover all around the sleeves and inside of the jacket itself. For the first layer, add approximately 25% Calgar blue to the previous overall mix. Again, this helps to bring up the hue of the jacket naturally and doesn't make the contrast too stark, even considering the amount of different blues we're currently using. Add more Calgar blue to the mix for the first highlight stages. Now you can focus on blocking out the upper and outermost areas of cloth, such as the lapels, pocket, cuffs and sleeves. This will bring the mix to an approximate 50-50 split, Calgar blue and the previous overall mix. For the next highlight stage, now add approximately a third of Fenrisian Grey to the whole mix, again pushing the highlights further and creating a realistic sense of flowing material by focusing more on the upper and outer areas of clothing. The Fenrisian Grey brings up the hue quickly and really naturally complements the shade of the Calgar blue from the previous layering stages. Finally, add more Fenrisian Grey for the final edge highlight. Keep the brush lines nice and tight so as not to undo any of the previous highlights or layering stages. A wayward blob of paint at this stage would be bad news. The mix for this final highlight will be approximately 2 parts Fenrisian Grey, 1 part overall mixture. It doesn't have to be exact, and you can keep adding more Fenrisian Grey until you're happy with the final result. Base coat the trousers and scarf with a 50-50 mix of Skaven Black Dinge and Abaddon Black. Once the wash is dry, relayer the previous mix over the trousers and scarf, leaving the Nuln oil showing in the recesses and around the backs of the legs, where the cloak obscures the light. Highlight the trousers and scarf again by adding more Skavenblight dinge to the mix. The hues here are really dark, in stark contrast to the jacket and cloak when finished, so it may not actually look like you've applied any paint, but be patient, and remember to keep your highlights tight. Remember, you can always add more paint, but you can't take it away once dried. Finally, apply a final edge highlight of pure Skavenblight dinge to the uppermost folds of the trousers and to the edges and tassels on the scarf. Paint the satchel, belt and satchel strap with dried bark. Edge highlight these areas with Gorthor brown. Be extremely careful around the jacket areas. Paint Pippin's sword with lead belcher. Once the wash is dry, edge highlight the blade with Runefang steel. You can also apply a pinpoint dot highlight to the hilt just to accentuate where the light will be hitting. Base coat the cloak with a 75-25% mix of corn red and dried bark. Again, like the jacket, this will bring a richness to the material, but also a slight weathered, earthy look thanks to the addition of the dried bark. Add Evil Sun Scarlet to the corn red drier bark mix for the first layer, and apply this over the whole cloak, inner and outer. The mix here should be approximately 25% Evil Suns and 75% of the original mix. Once the thinned wash is dried, reapply the previous mix to the cloak. Now, as with the jacket, you can focus on creating definition by focusing on the upper and outermost folds of material, leaving the Agrax wash showing in the recesses. We chose Agrax for our wash here to help maintain that earthy richness to the red which we wouldn't achieve with a red wash. Add more Evil Sun Scarlet to the mix for the first highlight stage, bringing the mix up to an approximate 50-50 split. Again, focus on pushing the definition between the cloak folds by making your highlights tight and neat. Try and apply the highlights in long brush strokes where possible to create a smooth flowing finish. For the next two highlight stages, add Fire Dragon Bright to the mix. Fire Dragon in itself is an extremely bright paint, so this may seem a bit jarring, but will in fact create a very blended look when we add to the earth-rich red we've been working with so far. Again, as with the jacket, you can continue to add more Fire Dragon Bright until you're happy with the result. We opted for two subsequent highlight stages here, as we thought that was all that was necessary to create a lovely, flowing look to the material. Just remember, for each stage maintain a good point to your brush and ensure your highlights are precise and neat and go where you want them to go.